Thanks, Luke. We'll all be doing our 7,000 steps now after watching that. So first question is from Con. He said, I only have a limited time to train. Should I prioritize strength or some form of cardio?
So I think, as you kind of saw in the talk there, I think strength really underpins everything that we do.
Yeah.
So if we can stay strong, it allows us to do all the things that we really love to do, whether, that's playing five-a-side football, golf, tennis. So strength is definitely a key quality. So I think probably some part of the week should be dedicated to strength, but we only really need at least one session a week to really stay strong. So the rest of the week can kind of be prioritized to maybe a bit more cardiovascular. So I think we definitely need to have some strength in there, because if we don't use it, we lose it. But probably cardiovascular is also very important. So probably a 60-40 split is a really good way to kind of go about it. But it also comes down to what you enjoy and what you love as well. So if my time was limited, I would probably look to do one strength session a week and maybe 1 to 2 cardiovascular sessions a week. And that's a really nice split then.
Lovely, thank you. This is a question from Mia. How long after a knee scope and SSC would I expect to be able to play sport easily again? And will the pain go away following the strength and conditioning program?
Really good question. So I think this depends on what you have done. So not every knee scope is the exact same. Yeah. So I would tend to say you probably want to get back to full sport and competitive sport. You might be looking up to 3 months, depending on what you've had done. You can definitely get back to certain activities quicker than others. So it does depend on what sport you play. So if it's a multi-directional kind of court sport like tennis or field sport, you might be looking at slightly longer. Whereas if it's more linear based, such as running, it might be a little bit quicker. And strength and conditioning is going to play a huge role in that, because we know that after the operation, you'll probably lose maybe 10 or 20% of your strength quite quickly. Whereas if you introduce a strength and conditioning program early, we can get that back much quicker as well. So it definitely depends. I would say I'm being more cautious on that kind of 2 to 3 months side. It might be a little bit quicker than that, but to get back to full field sports, you might be looking at the 3 month kind of stage.
Okay, thank you. Owen O'Neill, what pace of running is needed over the 60 seconds?
So I think it's individualized to everyone. So what I would say is over the 60 seconds, you want to be working quite hard. So we use a concept called rating of perceived exertion. So how hard you work. And you can quite easily track it from 10 being like what pre-season would be like really, really hard, and 1 being pretty much you just getting out of bed in the morning. And if you can kind of be around a 6 or a 7 for that 60 seconds, so you're working about 7 out of 10, then you should be getting all the benefits. If it's a little bit too easy, then you might miss a few of the benefits, but there's absolutely no need to push it to 10 or 9 or 10. So that kind of moderate to high intensity is a kind of good level. And in terms of speed, it really is individualized.
Okay. Can you overdo your sessions in a week?
Yes. So the analogy of we're a cup and we can only fit so much water in the cup is definitely true.
Yeah.
So if we do too many sessions in a week and don't provide enough recovery, then that is when we can kind of get overtrained. We can experience burnout, or we get a soft tissue injury. So recovery is really important. It's probably one of the things that we see least programmed into people's kind of training. When we train, we're actually breaking down muscles. When we recover is when they get stronger, better. And that's the same for cardiovascular fitness as well. So it's really important that when we train, we give adequate rest so that we can actually improve and get better, because that's when the kind of magic happens, really. So we tend to say at least 2 rest days in a week, ideally, where you're not doing too much at all to allow you to recover. And that does depend on people's training history as well. Some people might be used to training a little bit more, in which case they can handle that, whereas other people, you'd want at least 2 dedicated rest days in a week.
Okay, good, thank you. Sergey, do you recommend protein shakes for recovery, best diet for recovery?
Yeah, so protein shakes can be very handy, and they're readily available quite easily. So that's good. I would really just see them to supplement your nutrition though. So you can't really use them to replace good nutrition, but they are very handy to supplement what you do and to have them on hand. So immediately after, or within half an hour after a training session, is a really good window to take in protein. So protein shakes, I would definitely recommend them if you want to utilize them. But having said that, the evidence is there that chocolate milk, or a high protein chocolate milk like Avamore that you can buy off the shelves, is just as good in some cases for most people. So it doesn't have to be used, absolutely, but it can be something that can be definitely advantageous to use.
Okay, thank you. Edna said, should I be doing weights 50 plus? I think that means when she's over 50.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, that's probably the time where it's most important. There's some brilliant benefits to bone mineral density, to tendon and tendon health. For anyone who's experienced osteoporosis or osteopenia, we see brilliant benefits. So there's absolutely no contraindications to doing weights over 50. The only thing is you just see really good benefits.
Okay.
Obviously, an individualized program would be important if it's something you haven't done before, but there's absolutely no contraindications to doing it over 50.
Okay. Look, Lisa McDaniel, she's just talked about her son there. He had a large osteochondral defect in his knee. He had it fixed. He's 11 days post-surgery, nearly 5 weeks since the initial injury when he was put in a full brace. She's just concerned that he's a significant amount of muscle wastage. How can he prevent this?
So I suppose post-surgery, it's very hard to prevent because post-surgery, you are going to get a certain amount of muscle wastage. The most important thing is to try and get that muscle, that thigh muscle, the quadriceps back or activated as quickly as possible to minimize that atrophy. So there will always be some, but by doing some exercises, especially ones which are specific to the surgery and the injury, then we can maximize the amount of muscle mass we can retain. And that's really, really important that those early stage exercises are all there to maintain muscle mass and trying to get that joint moving as free as possible as well. So I think if they can do some exercises which really encourage that muscle to activate and stay, then I think they'll be in a brilliant position. But you will have some atrophy. So it's just trying to maintain as much as possible with exercise and try and kind of stop the atrophy as best as you can.
Yeah. Holly's asking, do all health insurances cover the fitness lab testing? How would she apply?
So it's all on certain policies. So Leia, Irish Life and VHI all cover the fitness lab, but it depends on what policy you're on. So the best way to go about it is to check your policy and check your pack. Usually the benefits like the fitness lab are down towards the end of the policy. But if you're unsure, you can contact us here at the fitness lab at Surgery Clinic and we can check the policy that you have and see whether it's a benefit you have. Or you can ring your health insurer and see as well if it's a policy that you have on your plan. And that's probably the best way because lots of people have it in their plan, but they just don't see it because it's right down the bottom. So if you check your plan or your documents, you should be able to see if it's there.
Great, thank you. Derry O'Toole, what is the best level of fitness you've seen people who've had knee replacements? I'm 52 and having a replacement on the 11th of December.
We see people get back to some really high level kind of activities. We've seen people get back to golf in really quick times. We've also seen people get back to quite dynamic activities as well. Obviously, initially, your non-impact activities are going to be the ones that you get back to. And there's no limit really to the level of fitness you can get back to because obviously something like cycling, you become very, very fit, but actually puts very little impact on your knee. So we've seen some very fit people come through. And I think really you're only limited by your ambitions. There will be some activities that you might find a little bit trickier to do, especially initially, but really there shouldn't be any limit. So however fit you are now pre-surgery, you should at least be able to get back to that post-surgery, if not a little bit better again. So there's definitely no limits that you should be placing on yourself after knee surgery.
Right. I think this will be the last one. Sunita, would you recommend a 45-minute Pilates class as a strengthening method, or is that more balanced conditioning?
Yeah, great question. I think it does depend on the Pilates class that you do. But generally what we would say, especially to see the benefits in bone mineral density, we want to really see something that's over and above our body weight. So whilst Pilates is definitely a good workout and very, very good for your health, it's probably not quite taxing enough or has enough resistance to necessarily influence, say, bone mineral density and other areas. So I think it's a very good workout, but definitely something a little bit above that. And you would only need something to supplement it. So it might only be 2 or 3 exercises to supplement what you do in Pilates, would then give you all of the benefits, whereas Pilates alone might just not be enough to really stimulate the muscles and the bone mineral density side of things quite enough. So that would be the only thing. And it depends on the class. You can get some quite more relaxing based Pilates classes and some which are very, very hard. So it just depends on your class and on your instructor as well.
Luke, thanks very much for joining us tonight. So